what is a secular society?
Well, when I became the president of the National Secular Society, I thought I knew what secularism meant. But then I started to look into it and to read about it and to talk about it with other people. And I suddenly realised that it's such a slippery word, difficult to get hold of, difficult to define in any kind of consistent way. And secularism, as far as I can see, is some kind of political stance, but secular people are not necessarily secularists. And secularism is not necessarily atheism, but some people think it is. So, you know, once you try to pin it down, it starts to spread, and it's difficult to get a handle on. It's like religion, you know, which it started out as being the opposite of. It's difficult to find what religion means, you know, a generalised description of religion. And of course, secularism, or secular, was originally the idea of monks in the Middle Ages. The secular ones would work out in the parishes and out amongst the community, and the religious would be in closed orders, and they would be shut away and devoted entirely to religion. That's become spread now, and the man who came up with the idea of secularism itself, George Joseph Holyoake, I'm sure you're all familiar with all these things already, but I'm just going to go a quick trip through the history. Holyoake sort of defined secularism, and when you read his definitions now, they sound almost like modern humanism. You know, it's all about goodwill towards men and education, and, you know, making sure that everybody's happy. And this chap here didn't particularly go along with that. He was far more radical.
What's his name?
This is Charles Bradlaugh, and a split occurred in the movement. Bradlaugh wanted to take secularism in a completely different direction. He wanted to go down the atheist line, the radical line, and Holyoake wanted to go down the sort of goodwill to all men line. We're part of the National Secular Society, which Charles Bradlaugh founded. But even now, as time has moved on, secularism is being redefined again. You find, if you read about secularism in the newspapers, it's generally the Pope saying that he's a secularist, and that he's got the proper definition of secularism, and the other people are just all Richard Dawkins lookalikes trying to bring religion down. But, you know, the National Secular Society is changing too, but that is a lot to do with the present incumbents who can project their own idea of what secularism is onto the organisation. Bradlaugh would project all kinds of issues onto secularism, the Irish question, and you know, socialism, all kinds of things. Yeah, he would make the NSS a platform for all the issues that he was personally obsessed with. And the same thing happens with presidents that have followed him. And Barbara Smoker, who was the president for 25 years, and I'm sure a lot of you here would have met her or heard of her, she was very much into the atheism definition of secularism. And now we've moved on, and I'm the president, and I'm beginning to look at secularism as a political construct, as a way of ordering society that keeps religion and politics separate. And of course we've got examples around the world of societies where this is an operation now. But even there's no consistency. The French model and the American model come from two completely different kinds of revolution. The French model, the French Revolution, was about unloading despotism and an overbearing Catholic Church. It was anti-clerical, and that's how the laïcité that informs French secularism arose. It was about keeping the church in its place and ensuring that it never got the kind of power that it had pre-revolution. So you end up with this definition of secularism in France, which is very much about separating religion from the state and making republicanism the overwhelming value. Everybody's a citizen of France. first, foremost, and then whatever other definition they want to put on themselves, if it's a religious definition, that's secondary. And in any public space in France, you are a French citizen. If you go to hospital, you're a French citizen. If you go to school, you're a French citizen. You do not go there as a Muslim, or as a Christian, or as a Hindu, as you would do in this country. You go there as a citizen. In America, it's different. Their evolution was different. The Americans came from a Protestant dissenting tradition. It's the first Western society that developed after the feudal days without the overwhelming dominance of the Catholic Church. So the Americans went down a completely different route. The founders of the Constitution made sure that the church and the state were separate, but not in the French way. The First Amendment is very much about protecting religion. It's about ensuring that religion is free from the state as much as the state is free from religion. And although Americans are technically secularists because they have a secular constitution, very few of them are actually atheists, or so they say. If you look carefully at the statistics and the research about what Americans actually believe, you'll find that most of them, something like 80% or more, will say that they're Christians. But then if you start to question that further, they will start to say, oh, I don't believe in God. No, I don't believe in God. No, I don't. And you begin to realise that their definition of Christianity is not quite what you would think it would be. And so the Americans have created a free market for religion. You can be anything there. There's no state religion. The Catholic Church hasn't dominated. No church has dominated. So you're free to be whatever you want. And maybe that's why religion is so strong there, because it's never been controlled. It's never been funneled by one particular church. But at the same time, secular people, rather than secular constitutions, are people who believe that they're better off if religion knows its place, without necessarily being atheists. So a lot of Americans do define themselves as secularists, but as secularism becomes redefined by a resurgent religion as being atheistic or anti-religious, then they begin to feel a little bit havey-quavey about the word. They begin to feel uncomfortable about calling themselves secularists because they think it's anti-religious. So then we come to this country where we've got the opposite situation. We've got an established church. Several European countries have got established churches. And we have less religious adherents. And you think, well, why is that? Why, if we've got an established church, why are there so few people who actually believe in religion here? It's the same in Denmark and a lot of the Scandinavian countries where they had, and still have in some instances, an established church, but with very, very low levels of belief.